Hey everybody, it's Keith and Snar again, side by side, which is how we should be. Glad y'all joined us tonight. Thank y'all for being with us. Thank you for the support you give us. Thank you for the encouraging words you give us. Thank you for the prayers that you pray over us. So we're so glad you're here with us. Boy, have we got some good stuff this evening on Facebook. We sent out a video. We asked y'all last week. We sent it out, and earlier today we sent it out again, and we encouraged everybody to watch it because it's definitely relevant to where we are in Scripture. So, sweetie, won't you kick us off?
Well, kick us off. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this added to the stage here. Okay. This is podcast number 113.
Still unbelievable.
Yeah. Meet Me in Galilee. We have been taking all four gospels and combining them together to give a harmonized summary. And I think that really is the best way to study this. We followed the story of Jesus's arrest. He's been questioned by the Romans as well as the Jewish religious leaders. He's been beaten, and that's putting it lightly. And then he is crucified. So he's been crucified at this point. More and more prophecies just being fulfilled. We keep finding things that relate to Jesus fulfilling prophecy. In Isaiah 53, it says he was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. So we know that Jesus died among the criminals. We just studied the two thieves on the cross with him, but he was buried in a brand new tomb built by Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy man in the area, and I believe he was a religious leader as well. This fulfilled a prophecy that was written, Isaiah 53, that I just quoted, roughly 700 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, none of this is a surprise. None of this is, and we learn that more and more and more and more as we really, look into all this. The tomb, we just mentioned Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. Remember, Nicodemus came in the night and questioned Jesus about how to be born again. They courageously stepped up. They'd kind of been in the shadows up until this point.
Yeah, they were trying to.
We don't know.
Stay out of the limelight.
We don't know what they were trying to do, but
now.
But at this point, they stepped up and publicly made a commitment, I believe, and they courageously went and said, we would like to have Jesus' body and be able to bury it. They wrapped him in linen. They pretty much did this according to Jewish tradition. But Nicodemus went overboard. He had just tons and tons of, not tons, but, it was pounds, a lot of pounds, 75 pounds of spices that he brought to the tomb. Just, there were reasons for doing that, but it was also honor. That was the type of thing that you would bring to the tomb of a king,
Mm-hmm.
So that he was making a statement, I believe, with all that. The burial narrative and timeline, we went through this. If you missed this last time, go back and look at it. I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think it's important. There's a traditional timeline, which, we still celebrate today, where Jesus is crucified on Friday, rises on Sunday morning. It's like 36 hours.
And nobody pays attention to the details.
Yeah. And I mean, that is, the point is he was crucified and he rose again. Mm-hmm. But not to diminish that in any way, but just to go back and study this a little better, I think is helpful when you do have those questions. There are good arguments for a Thursday crucifixion. There are really good arguments for a Wednesday crucifixion.
Yeah.
So go back and watch that if you didn't, because we found out that it's not the Sabbath, it's the Sabbaths. There is a high Sabbath thrown into this mix that is being mentioned in the scripture that we just think that we just grew up, I did, thinking that always meant that Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly what this was. It was a high Sabbath.
Yeah.
So it was where it was in a special holy day had the same type of limitations for the
Could-
Jewish people.
Could not be
couldn't-
hanging on the cross
yeah.
after 6
all
o'clock
kinds of
p.m.
things. So go back and watch that last week, podcast number 112,
Yeah.
if you didn't see that.
Well,
And-
before we go to the next slide, I want to interject here. Traditional is looking at things in a vacuum. But if you understand all the way back to Genesis 3:15, Genesis 6, the book of Job, just bring it on forward, then you understand why Leviticus, Deuteronomy, just on and on and on, how much of all that plays into the New Testament. Then it is important that you study and try to understand the multiple Sabbaths that came into play. That it couldn't have been Friday to Sunday, that it was either Thursday to Sunday or Wednesday to Sunday. And a lot of the explanations show up in the New Testament, but it's based on Old Testament connections. And if you take your Bible study seriously and understand that it's the whole Bible we need to be studying, and not just this or that or the next thing, but look at it as a whole, then you are motivated to try to understand Thursday crucifixion or Wednesday crucifixion, and it certainly couldn't have been a Friday crucifixion. Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay. The 3 days, we discussed that. Where was Jesus during the 3 days that he was in the grave? Well, Jesus' body was in the tomb. We know that. His spirit was not in the tomb. We're going over this real fast because we have already covered it. We know he committed his spirit to the Father. Peter later on gives us more info on what Jesus did during that interim. And I'm just saying it's about his, and this is somewhat my opinion, but proclamation of victory in the lower parts of the earth.
Yes.
How about that? Yeah, I think that's what that was. Let's keep going. I think we covered all this. Before sunrise, after the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Marys went to the tomb. So we've studied these different accounts of what happened, and it can get confusing. So if you missed last week, go back. We did try to explain a lot of that.
And
There's
just remember,
more than one visit to the tomb,
right?
and there's more than it'll say Mary Magdalene saw this or did this or that, and then it'll say she did something else. But it's because she went back more than once.
And we want to remind everybody that the Jews counted their days from 6 o'clock p.m. on one day to 6 o'clock p.m. the next day. So when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of James,
the women,
okay, when it's referring to when the Sabbath was over, and we're talking about Sunday morning, where the Sabbath was over at 6 p.m. the previous evening.
Yeah, we covered that last time.
I just want to remind everybody who might have missed last time.
Yeah. The women do become the first resurrection witnesses. There's no doubt about that. And we made mention of the fact that if you were going to write a really strong Jewish story about, the resurrection of Jesus,
if you were trying to weave a tale,
you would not have the women
be the witnesses,
because their testimonies did not carry the same weight.
It took 4 women to equal the testimony of one Jewish man.
But God does things in his way. He didn't do things in man's way.
Just like Jesus said about marriage.
Right. Now, the guards report, this was interesting to me. And even more interesting, I talked about it and I didn't know if I did. I went back and looked. But the professional Roman soldiers report the events surrounding the disappearance of Jesus to who?
Well,
the chief.
You would assume they went back and talked to their superiors, but they didn't.
Nope. They went straight to the chief priests and religious leaders. And you know why? I put it on here.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. They paid them off. They said, don't you tell nobody. If anything comes of this, we'll take care of it.
We'll keep you from getting in trouble.
Here. They bribed them.
Yeah.
They bribed them. They paid them off. Okay. The empty tomb. John 20 does give us some additional details here. Mary Magdalene initially believes that somebody stole Jesus's body.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs to tell Peter and John. Peter and John race to the tomb. John arrives first, but he doesn't go in. He just can't do it. I don't know why. Peter goes straight inside. You know Peter. John does eventually, I believe, enter, but it says he saw and believed. The grave clothes remain lying there. And this isn't evidence of grave robbery.
A
Keith.
grave robber would not have taken off the grave clothes, folded them neatly, and put them in a place so that they're very noticeable being left there. A grave robber would not have done that.
Yeah, he doesn't unwrap the body before he steals it and then fold the clothes.
He's trying to get out
What
of there
in
quick.
the orderly grave clothes alone is evidence of resurrection. The Shroud of Turin. This is what you wanted to talk about tonight. You did not get to talk about this last time. Tell them what the Shroud of Turin is. What is the Shroud of Turin?
Okay. Here's a couple of things about the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin, a report came out in the 1980s. I was alive at the time. 1980s, I was just out of college a few years. I remember when a big report came out about the Shroud of Turin. There were some TV documentaries about it. Oh, the Shroud of Turin has been debunked. It's a hoax.
I remember
It's
that.
from the Middle Ages. And
This was almost before we didn't have social media.
no.
But there were TV specials on this.
Yes.
That it
Yes.
had been debunked. It was
Yes.
fake. It was,
And it was a quote, and I'm gonna put this in air quote. It was a Catholic hoax. Well, here's number one. The hoax. Well, let me say this. Let me say it this way: the debunking of the hoax has now been debunked as well, and there have been over
what they said was a hoax is not a hoax. Let's get that out there.
Well, what they said was a hoax. That report itself has been debunked as being inaccurate and based on bad information.
Okay. So that being said, tell us what the Shroud of Turin is.
The Shroud of Turin is the linen cloth that is long enough and wide enough to have covered both the front and back of the body of what obviously appears to be a crucified and beaten, severely beaten and dead person who was buried. And the way that worked is one side of it was laid, the body was placed on top of it, and then the cloth was brought over the head to cover the front side. And so it was a full body covering for front and back, and the fold was at the head, and it was wide enough that it could lay on itself side to side.
So it is the grave clothes or the grave wrappings of Jesus after the crucifixion.
That's what it is purported to be.
Okay. So what are we looking at here?
That is, we could go on and on about. I really hoped y'all would watch the video we posted last week after the podcast was over. Told you to please watch it during the week so you can be ready for today. And then today we posted it again, trying to encourage you to watch it. There's so much evidence about the Shroud of Turin that is positive that it's not a hoax, that it actually may very well be. Now, let's be clear. I wasn't alive when the Shroud of Turin was created.
We're old.
Sonora wasn't.
We're not that old.
We may be old, but we ain't that old.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? None of y'all were living at the time either. So all we can do is go on the available evidence that's out there today.
But there's so much evidence.
Are
you going to tell them about the evidence?
Well, I mean, it's bits and pieces, but I can tell you a few things.
Tell a few things about it, because I mean, just the DNA and the blood type.
The DNA, the blood. Well, let me give you an encapsulation first.
Okay.
The hoax debunking that occurred, it's a Middle Age hoax from the Middle Ages that was reported in 1980. It was based on one thing. It was based on a piece of cloth that was the size of your little pinky. nail. Okay, see that? That's how big the cloth was they were allowed to examine.
Okay.
Now, there were supposed to be 7 groups that did carbon dating of that sample. All 7 of them were supposed to have done testing. Only 3 of them did. And it turns out that the actual strip of cloth that they tested was a patch cloth strip.
Oh no.
It wasn't even the original.
Because it's my understanding. Let me go back one. These I know you can't see a cursor or anything, but do you see the little triangles that are on there?
Those are burned creases in the cloth.
These?
Yes.
Okay, they're patches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some cases, they tried to patch it, but the cloth itself, over the last 2,000 years, has suffered 3 fires, and what you're looking at is what's left after those 3 fires. Now,
Wow.
if you look at it, what you see on the left-hand panel is the body of a person who appears to have long hair, a beard.
We may have a better picture. Let me look and see. That's the actual where it is.
Correct.
Okay. That may be it. That may be it. That's all I got. That's going to be the best one. That's a negative of it.
Well, the whole thing's a negative.
Yeah, but that's the photograph.
Now,
Yeah.
And what I was saying is it's clear that's a human-shaped body, the characteristics of a human-shaped body on the left, looking at the front of the body. The right panel shows the same body, all the parts match, of the backside of that same body.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
here's what you need to understand. What you're looking at is a negative image.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a positive image. It is a negative image,
Okay.
as if it was taken, as if you're looking at the negative of a photograph.
Okay. But wasn't it folded when it was in the fire, and that's why it's burned
Yes.
in those lines
Right.
and edges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was folded. It's been folded.
So the corners got burned, and
Right.
that's where they were trying to kind of patch it back together.
Correct.
Okay. So
But-
they
but-
gave the testing piece was a patch.
Correct.
So how's that going to work? They can't do that.
Well, that's just it. The thing about it is the reports that came out in the 1980s was just, oh, these poor, stupid Christians believe in this. They've just been so fooled and so duped, and they've just been taken advantage of. And they're so heartbroken to find out that this shroud that they wanted to believe in is just a medieval hoax and that kind of stuff. Well, let's talk about what modern science tells us. Number one, the image you're looking at, the left panel and the right panel, that does appear to show a human body, the hands folded in front, and the calf impressions, the heel impressions, the back shoulder blades impression, back of the head. And if you look in at the face, it does look like a man with a beard and
yeah, you can
long
see
hair.
some of the closer up pictures too. That one.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
well,
that one.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, go back. Go back one right there. Hold that one right there.
Okay.
This thing has been photographed a bunch of times, but what the positive photograph shows is the negative image of the body. Now, nobody has been able to figure out how it was created, because they have proven now. Oh, let me make this point. 105 scientific discipline groups have now had a chance to examine the Shroud of Turin. And they have examined it from many, many different ways. And guess what? Most of these groups are not believers. Many of them are atheist, agnostic, and in some cases just outright.
Well, on the other side, go ahead.
Definitely on the other side.
Okay.
what was I going to say? Oh, they have proven that the image is not created by the application of any ink or paint or foreign material. The impression has been created by chemically altering the material itself. Now, let me tell you what the report says. I'll read it to you.
Chemically altering.
Electrochemically altered.
Oh.
As if 34,000 trillion watts of energy pulsed for 1/40th of a billionth of a second. In other words,
wow.
An explosion of unimaginable proportions happened almost in less than the blink of an eye.
Wow. Wow.
Created the changes in the fibers of that cloth.
Like something came through it.
Like something came through it.
Like light came through it of some type.
I am the
way, the truth, and the light. Oh no, that's the light. Wrong one.
Let me read that
the
again.
Light of the world.
Yeah, the light of the world. Let me give you this again. And folks, golly, I sure wish y'all would go watch that video. 34,000 trillion watts of electricity that pulsed for 1/40th of a billionth of a second. And in other words, the energy was of such magnitude, but of such a small window of time that it left what you're looking at. Now, here's what's interesting. They believe they can measure what it took to do it. They don't know how to recreate it. They have tried. They cannot recreate what you're looking at right there. Have not been able to do it. Okay. What's some of the other evidence? How about soil samples?
What do you mean soil samples? There's soil on it.
There's soil on it.
Did they
Guess where it's from?
Come from Jerusalem?
Jerusalem.
Wow. How long has
Guess where the soil? Wait a minute. Keep your image up there.
Okay.
Guess where the soil samples were found?
On his feet.
On his feet.
And
on his nose.
On his nose.
And his knees.
Oh goodness.
When he fell forward in his hand, remember when Jesus was walking, he only had the beam on his shoulders. He didn't have the whole
we talked
cross.
about that. Yeah.
He just had the beam. Well, when he fell, his hands were tight. All he could do was fall face forward into the dirt. So they found limestone from Jerusalem, chemical composition of Jerusalem, on his nose, on his knees, and on his feet.
Wow.
On that cloth right there.
Wow.
That's one thing. What about the pollen? The pollen from the area of Jerusalem was pollen from plants that only pollinated at the time of the Passover.
They put him in the place and the time.
That's one. And then from the various places that cloth has been through history, through the documented history, they've got pollen from central Spain, northern Spain, and one more place I think that they have measured. Everywhere where it's documented that cloth was, there's pollen that matches it.
There's a thing in law enforcement when you have proof and you put it up, it's like chain of evidence, where you have to show
where it's been the whole time. And
so you've got that on top of all that. That's very interesting.
And this thing has been passed off by its detractors as, well, that's just a Catholic hoax. Well, folks, believe it or not, the Catholic Church didn't take control of the Shroud of Turin until the 1980s.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was it before?
It was in the possession of a private family.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I believe, where it resides now. I know that they keep this thing out of the light, out of, I mean, it's well
very
protected.
delicate. It's very delicate. It's made out of linen.
I mean, it's 2,000 years old.
Yes.
You know.
Now, is that Jesus's image? I can tell you, there's a lot of reasons to believe it. And if you watch that video,
If it's not, how in the world did that? I mean, you've got to almost throw in some supernatural here.
well, one thing we hadn't mentioned yet is the head cloth.
Yep.
The head cloth
We don't have a picture of the
should
head
not
cloth.
be confused. Well, I thought we did.
I showed it to you on there.
Oh, okay.
And then you said you didn't need it.
Okay, I'm sorry. The head cloth was used to cover, because you got to remember, Jewish burial customs. They didn't carelessly let a person bleed. The body and the blood were to be preserved as much as possible. So while Jesus was on the cross after he died and they were getting ready to take him down, they took the head cloth and put it over his head as much as they could. But from what they can tell on the head cloth, his head was cocked over so bad that they wrapped it and then came back in the direction that they had started from. The head cloth didn't go all the way around his head. Okay. What they were trying to do was the blood that was coming out of his nose and mouth, they were trying to keep it from just.
Something I heard on just listening to it, that someone reached over and pinched his nose together.
That was when they were making him horizontal.
Okay. To try to keep it.
Try to keep blood from just pouring out and them losing it. And it's not because this was Jesus, it's because that was the normal practice for handling dead bodies for Jewish people. Okay. Now, the image you're looking at there.
So this would have been Joseph of Arimathea
and Nicodemus, yes,
this.
who did this. Now, when they got him to the tomb, they removed the head cloth and set it aside so they could take the full body linen cloth and, like I said, wrap him in it. In the cloth would be laid out and the body put on one half of it, and then the cloth brought over the head and brought back down to the feet to cover the front side.
Okay.
My
goodness.
Now, this slide you're looking at right here, the one on the right, that is an image of a 1931 photograph that was taken. That image right there is the same image that C.S. Lewis kept in his bedroom, because he had said that he wants to see the face of God every night before he goes to bed.
Henri or something like that.
Yeah, it was
E.N.
You can tell him.
I can't remember.
I thought you wrote it down somewhere.
I did too. I did somewhere.
Okay. Anyway, it's a world famous photograph from 1930. There it is. Yeah. Giuseppe Henri.
Henri. That's the detail from a negative.
And that's what the image is.
Well,
on
C.S.
the cloth.
Lewis said that he wanted to see the face of God every day.
Yes.
That God had a face.
Yes.
He had it in his bedroom. Yep. Okay, are we ready to go on and meet me in Galilee?
We are.
Okay, meet me in Galilee. Something that I thought, and this may just be me not noticing, but the meet me in Galilee thing is way bigger than I thought, because in Mark 14:28, there's the promise. Jesus, this is before Jesus is crucified. Before he's crucified. This is just how much all of this is not an afterthought. Every bit of this is the plan.
Has purpose.
Going as planned. Because Mark 14:28, Jesus tells the disciples, but after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee. He says that before he's crucified. And then Mark 16:7. This is, I believe, the angel speaking. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he's going before you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. Okay, see? So there's the reminder. And then the fulfillment, Matthew 28:10. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. That's after the crucifixion. I mean, this is all in the plan. But before Galilee, before we get to Galilee, I want to touch on this because I think this is important. First of all, Jesus does appear to Peter, and I believe it's fairly briefly here, but you can read about that in Luke 24 or in 1 Corinthians 15. But I want to talk about the road to Emmaus. You know, this is the Sunday afternoon. This is the very day that Jesus
is first found to be
is rose from the dead. Yeah, that Sunday afternoon. So 2 disciples leave Jerusalem, and you know, I always thought, I wonder which 2 disciples it was. You know, is it John and so and so? But these are people that
these
were
are generic
followers.
disciples.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of them is named Cleopas, and we don't know the name of the other one. It's not named. But Jesus walks with them, and he explains the scriptures, and they recognize him while they're breaking bread. Then Jesus disappears, and I want to get into that just a little bit more and read what actually happened. It says, now that same day, we just said that, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were talking with each other about everything that had happened. And as they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. Now, I don't know. Chuck Missler says he doesn't know. If Chuck Missler doesn't know, that's good enough for me. You know, it could have been that they were kind of fringe disciples and didn't spend a lot of time personally with him. I don't know.
Close enough to him in the crowd.
Was his appearance changed, or was this supernatural that they didn't know him? I don't know. But he asked them, Jesus asked them, he said, what are you discussing together as you walk along? They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there these days?
Dude, where you been? You under a rock?
Exactly. You know what Jesus says? Jesus says, what things? He asked. He didn't say, I don't know. He didn't lie. He just said, what things? It says, about Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all people. Jesus, you know, they're saying this to him like, you don't know. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what's more, it's the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, and if that ain't enough, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they didn't see Jesus. This is what Jesus said to them. He said, how foolish are you? You are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? And then it says, and beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. In other words, he starts saying, remember this prophecy? Did Jesus do that? Yeah, he did. Remember this prophecy? He did that. I mean, it's on and on. You can imagine the 7-mile walk that they're going down and just explaining. He's explaining all these things. They have to be so amazed. Number one, surely they thought he was a rabbi, you know, but that he would know this much and be able to recall that to memory and apply that to Jesus's life. But as they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he were going farther. He's just like, yeah, I see y'all, like he's going to go. And but they urged him strongly, stay with us, for it's nearly evening, the day's almost over. So he went in to stay with them. Now, obviously, this this points to me that they were saying it's getting dark. Come on in.
You don't need to be traveling in the middle of the night.
But just wait. And when he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. And he disappeared from their sight. I wonder, and you wondered, did he turn his hands over to do the bread?
As he's handing out pieces of bread or something.
Did they see the nails?
Did they see the scars in his wrist? Yeah.
I know. That's what I wonder. Either that or it's just like Elijah's little sidekick. The scales fell from his eyes and he could see and they could know. But they asked each other, they're like, we were so stupid. They asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? It's like hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
That was Jesus. And then Jesus goes, this is what gets me. That same evening, they traveled 7 miles back to Jerusalem. Probably in the dark.
They were planning on staying, but they wasn't staying after they saw that.
They took off to Jerusalem, and Jesus appears to the disciples in Jerusalem. But guess who's not there? Thomas is not there. But Jesus does show them his hands and his sides. You can read about that in John 20:19 through 23.
And we'll go back to the previous slide.
Okay.
Now, what needs to be known about this, if you'll read the passage, the doors were closed. They were in the room alone.
Yeah.
Jesus appeared in the midst of them, is what the scripture says.
And you and I have gone back and forth about this because at first somebody made mention, why was the stone rolled away? It wasn't so Jesus could get out. It was so the women could get in. And I thought, no. He had to have the stone rolled away. But there's too many times it says he disappeared, he appeared, he disappeared, he appeared. His resurrected body was that body because it's gone. But it is a transformed body.
It is the Octerion that
that's
Paul
what I
talked
think.
about.
Yeah. So that was confusing to me. 8 days later, Jesus appears again.
Same circumstance, doors closed.
But this time Thomas is there.
And he appears in the midst of them.
And,
without an entrance.
Says, let's see, I think I have.
It says here.
Yeah. Now, Thomas, also known as Didymus. Do you know what Didymus means? Don't look. It means twin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did know that.
Yeah.
I forgot.
One of the 12 was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we've seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand to his side, I will not believe.
That's why the phrase came up, that don't be a doubting Thomas.
Yeah. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them, though the doors were locked, just as you said. Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here, see my hands, reach out your hand and put it to my side. Stop doubting and believe.
Stop right there.
He has to be thinking, he heard me.
He heard me complaining.
He sees me. He hears me. Was it Chuck Missler that said his little grandson came and asked him after he heard him preach about some of this? He said, can Jesus see me and all the time? And he just said, yes, he loves you so much he can't take his eyes off of you.
Yeah.
That little boy had to be thinking, woo.
Well, and how many times have I read this passage, but it didn't dawn on me the passage in time from when the disciples told Thomas about what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he spouts off what he does. If I don't see the scars in his hand or the holes in his
no telling his little emphasis.
I ain't gonna believe.
I don't believe unless I put the finger in the nail.
But then Jesus drives right
here. Put your hand
right up in amongst all that.
Woo! He had to. Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." He believed. And then Jesus told him, because you've seen me, you've believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed.
Mm.
So then we come to the journey north to Galilee. So this is about 70 to 80 miles from Jerusalem. I don't think we really can imagine this is a mode of transportation for people. This is not a day trip. You know, they're not going to run back tonight.
Right.
So this takes 3 to 5 day walk, you know, to get there. So
Yeah.
Can you imagine though what they talked about all the way over there? I mean, they got 5 days together walking down the road. Nobody's got a cell phone. I mean, there's nothing to do but just talk about what's happened, the empty tomb, what the women said, the, you know, what people are saying.
What now?
All
What's
the
next?
questions, trying
Where
to
do we go? What do we
recall
do?
the things he said and say, well, he said so-and-so, you know, the hope beginning to replace fear because they have seen him.
Yeah,
I
seen
mean,
him
they've
twice.
seen him. So they're not walking thinking this is a wild goose chase. They have to be anticipating what's going to happen next is the only thing I can think. Why Galilee? Well, number one, it's home for most of the disciples. This is where it all started, where a lot of Jesus' ministry took place. It's got to be a safer place than Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Jerusalem's hot right now, you know, for them, for everything. This is about to kick off. It doesn't need to be in Jerusalem. It's a hornet's nest that's been stirred, you know, and it is also a fitting place to gather many followers. You know, it's like home turf. Jesus appears at the Sea of Galilee. Now, where did Jesus call like Peter and all of them?
Next to the sea.
Sea of Galilee. We see the miraculous catch of fish, breakfast on the shore, and Peter's going to be restored. Let's look at those. Jesus and the miraculous catch of fish. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this.
What book is this out of?
This is. I'm sorry.
Didn't you have it on the previous page?
I might. Let's see. If you need to know. John chapter 21.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus. I don't know why they say that every time. Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were there. I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told them. And they said, we'll go with you. I mean, it's like somebody said, what do you do when you don't know what to do? You try to find a comfort activity. This had to be Peter's, I'm going out to fish, you know. Anybody who's a fisherman kind of knows how that is too, you know. It says, we'll go with you. And they went out and got into the boat. But that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize it was Jesus. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. No. He said, throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. They had to be looking at each other when he said that.
Who is this fellow?
And when they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. And then the disciple whom Jesus loved, you know who that is. Now we know it's written by John. He always refers to himself as the disciple whom Jesus loved, said to Peter, it's the Lord. And as soon as Simon Peter heard him say it's the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. And when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals, and it actually says burning charcoal in the correct translation, there with fish on it and some bread. And Jesus said to him, bring some of the fish you've just caught. So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. We'll talk about that in a minute. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. None of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus had appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. Peter restored. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Now, don't miss the charcoal fire here, because it's only mentioned twice in the scriptures. The last time that Peter smelled a charcoal fire, where was he?
In the courtyard where he betrayed Jesus 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
He was warming himself by the fire.
And then they make a specific reference to it was a charcoal fire, where here Jesus is bringing him right back full circle. And again, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And he answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." Don't miss here. He's calling Peter by his original name.
Simon.
He's not calling him Peter. The third time he says to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." Jesus says here, "Do you love me more than these?" I don't know if I copied that right. But anyway, Peter had claimed even
if everybody else leaves you, Lord, I'm not going to leave you. I won't turn my back on you.
Yeah. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went out where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. I never have understood that completely, why that's what that was, but John wrote it that way. And he says, then he said to him, "Follow me." Peter turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved, who's that? Disciple John, was following them. It doesn't say eavesdropping, but John wrote this, so he was. It also says in parentheses, this was the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and said, "Lord, who is going to betray you?" I don't know why John had to do it that way. It's not a weird way. When Peter saw him, he asked, "Lord, what about him?" And Jesus answers, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me." No, don't be watching John. You follow me. It says, because of this, the rumor spread among the believers that this disciple, John, would not die. But Jesus did not say that he would not die. He only said, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you?" This is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. So we know that his testimony is true. John says, "I know this because I'm writing about myself."
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written.
And before we go any further, I want to make a comment about that comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Somebody who is like a super Bible studying sleuth did a study of all of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they took each passage that referred to Jesus and a timeline of Jesus, and it was in all 4 Gospels. They cover only X number of days.
Oh, I know.
And it's a very small number. I can't remember what the exact statistic is, but
Yes.
That's what that's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much about Jesus' 3 to 4 year ministry.
Yeah.
That's not even written in the Bible.
Yes.
But John makes it clear that it could have been. But if it were, we wouldn't have a book big enough to hold it all.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what people don't realize.
Yeah.
That what is in the 4 Gospels and it's talked about Jesus and his ministry.
That's not everything that happened.
It's so few days that it covers.
Yeah.
And it's not
all those days and years. Yeah.
Of all those
So
days.
365 times
3 or 4.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Yep.
So what's happening here? It's familiar shores. He could have chosen any place. He could have done it in Jerusalem. I mean, he could have done it closer
Or
by.
Samaria. He was very fond of Samaria.
But instead, I feel like he just chose familiar shores. He just, where the fishermen first heard, follow me. You know, before he sent them into the world, he brought them back home, back to where it all began. I feel like he said, now that you know what you know, let's start over. Now do you see where this is going?
That's a great point.
Yeah, I feel like that's why he did that. I might be wrong, but next week, I know we're finishing early. Jesus is. I don't want to get into the next thing because we're going to talk about the next. You know, Jesus keeps teaching and giving his disciples instructions and whatever, and he gives them what's known as the Great Commission. I just feel like that's by itself. I want to save that.
That's good.
I do want to say that there's a deep dive that you can do, and I'm preparing a separate lesson for it regarding Mark 16. Does anybody know? Put in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. At the end of Mark 16, there's a lot of footnotes that say that the last 12 verses were not
in the original manuscript of Mark.
And so I wanted to know what that was about.
Yeah.
And there are some things you really have to get into to know those things, but it is super interesting. And I know a lot of you have heard the word Gnostics. It's spelled Gnostic.
It's a lot to unpackage there.
A lot to unpack.
And guess
there.
what I'm going to be preparing?
Okay, go ahead.
The Mount of Olives.
Oh, see,
write that down. The Mount of Olives.
I give you my notes and talk to you about mine, and then you act all smart about it. But then you don't tell me anything about what you're working on.
Well, you'll know about it before we do it.
Okay, we'll see.
But the Mount of Olives plays big time in the last days of Jesus on earth.
For sure. Yeah, I know a lot about that. That's
and what
amazing.
you find out is there's a lot of Old Testament connection with prophecies and things like that. And then, oh my gosh, there's a lot. So anyway.
Well, I'm glad you're preparing that.
About on time.
We're close. We're close enough. Nobody ever complained about, this is not a sermon, but about a sermon being too short. But we hope that, we gave you something.
Let me say this. Can you go back and find the slide that showed Jesus' image?
Can try. Let's see.
Just go back.
It's a better way to do it, but I'll do it twice.
Oh, go forward. Right there.
Oh, which one? This one?
That one right there is good enough.
Okay.
Here's what I want to say before we break tonight. Spiritual mentor to me, I consider him just a awesome spiritual leader. I'm not the only one that looks up to him and receives from him and certainly enjoys fellowship with him. I'm talking about Ray Young. And y'all have heard me mention Ray before, and a particular conversation that he and I have had more than once. And we reference the fact that we don't have a physical Jesus to sit here, to walk with us, to ride in our car with us. We don't have a physical Jesus to be here. And we asked the question, Ray and I have talked, do we let our minds talk ourselves into thinking, well, he's not, I don't have to be as conscious of him because he's not really here, and I don't have a physical
or he's
point.
Probably busy doing something else right now.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so Ray and I, we talk about would our conduct be different if we did have a physical Jesus? Would our thoughts be more directed, more focused if we had a physical Jesus with us?
Yeah.
And this is what I see when I see that image.
You can understand
And I thought,
why he wanted to have that in his bedroom.
C.S. Lewis wanted that in his bedroom.
God had
God
had a face.
God has a face.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to remind himself of that every day. And as we got to this point in the Shroud of Turin subject came up, and all the things that we refreshed ourselves in the last 2 weeks studying the Tower of Shroud of Turin and what it was about, and all the modern scientific discoveries and confirmations that are out there that aren't widely told, that aren't widely exposed to believers and non-believers. But then when I see that image, I'm thinking, how many of us really need that image? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying we're going to start worshiping an image.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
we need to be reminded that there is an image to be seen.
An image to be seen.
Yeah.
And there was a real Jesus. And this may very well be what the face of Jesus looked like.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a static pose.
I understand.
So anyway, just thought I'd end on that note.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. And we are so glad you came and watched.
Yes. Thank you for the crowd we had tonight.
And
love y'all.
Thank you for those that will watch later the recorded version, because we have quite a few that do that.
Yeah, we do that. That's for sure.
Please go and make sure that what we said is true, and check scriptures for yourself.
And if you hadn't watched the video, please watch the video. It's so informative.
Yes. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.